and Breakdowns.
Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. I am excited for this episode. We're on episode 117, and I don't know the original number. That's what I was gonna do, but my brain bounces all over the place. I want to look up what was the original episode that you were on. But today in the house we got Dizzi Davis. What's going on?
Oh, brother, I'm happy to be here. I'm in your house.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Which is crazy. It's crazy that you haven't been here yet.
It is odd. You know, it is odd. I mean, like I said, I've been here before, just under a different context, right?
That's true.
So, but you know, I'm happy to be here this time. Definitely, yeah. It is an honor.
You've seen probably the more transformative piece of this podcast. You know, going from when we did it in the living room. You know, and I think when we did it, were we on the couches?
We were on the couch. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first setup that I had was just chilling on the mismatched couches that we had in there.
Not only the sounds, we're chilling. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? No, but let me give you some flowers for a second, man. No, for real. So, because for me, this starts earlier than that when you started your YouTube channel, right? And you don't know how formative that has been for me, because I guess I haven't put everything out. But once I saw you say, I just got to do it, and you started taking actionable steps.
Yeah.
You bought the camera. You started, you didn't wait on anybody. You started editing the content yourself, started putting it out consistently. If I remember, you did it, don't quote me on it, but was it at least once a week for a year straight?
It was about once a week, yeah.
Once a week for a year straight. I remember, right? Because I would see it at the house. And then I saw that, and it's crazy. It shows how you're able to pivot. So you go from doing that to now you apply these new skills, right? Because you invested in yourself, the time, the money, everything like that. Then I start seeing what you're doing with Noise Ride, right? Then I start seeing the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns. And now I'm seeing the skits start to come about, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And I know that's going to branch off into something else as you evolve. So I think it'll still continue to be, Noise Ride, Chill Sounds and Breakdowns. But I think because I know you personally, I know you're a bit eclectic. So I know that's going to branch off into maybe straight comedy, which, I've been telling you to do a set for a long time. That's going to branch off to... Who knows? It's a Cowboys hat today. I don't know what it could be. Maybe you got some political aspirations. So
political.
It could be. All right.
Yeah.
2028. So,
That's soon.
So, or whatever it might be. But no. For me personally, I've seen that, and the only difference is the actionable step that I have. Well, there's a lot of differences, but the actionable step that I haven't taken is actually putting it out. But ever since, I bought the same camera you have. You remember?
Yeah.
I bought the same camera. You know what I'm saying? Now I done bought a GoPro and some other little things. I walk around everywhere with it strapped to my chest. And I got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of footage and different interviews and things. And that all comes from you. We even have an IG content page that I just haven't done my part with yet. Maybe, I'll have to reach out to you for some help. But Plot Rise Conquer TV, that was one of our mottos for a long time for Aeronotiqz.
Yeah.
And I got interviews with different artists, and I took straight from your formula. I'm going to be honest. I've got there's even a ticket option called Content Over Everything, where the ticket option is you're guaranteed to be in the recap video. So it's people I go to, and I'm asking them questions like you did at what was the first show that you put out where you did that?
Oh, I think it was the Fort Worth Hardcore. No, it was Plus Fest.
But it was at Halton Theater, right?
That was the second time
that
we
was
did
the second
it.
time. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's Plus Fest was the experimentation of it, and then which wasn't our event, was somebody else's. But this was the Halton Theater Fort Worth Hardcore Fest we did last year. It was the first time I was we did it for an event of our own.
Yeah, it was great. It was refined. I mean, and it's genius. It's genius. You just literally pulled. So obviously I wanted to monetize that, right? So it was pulling money out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? Because people want that.
Yeah,
people want that. They want to be included, and it is a moment in time. And all of us are only alive for so long, and it's kind of a stroke of luck that we're all here at the same time. So let's interact. People like that. They like to go look back and say, hey, not only did I get to check out this show, not only did I get to drink or hang out with my friends, look at this timestamp I have, this memorabilia. So yeah, I took that from you. There's a couple things that I'm going to take from you too. I'm watching. We're watching. So yeah, shout out to you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it a lot. And it's funny because I bring that a lot, but yeah, you're probably one of the people that saw that was one of my first things. The vlog was one of the first things that I pushed through on my own, like, efforts at first, where I was just like, I want to do something, let me do it. I was very bad at having ideas. Like, I bring this up a lot. So I always, like, used to be the guy where I'm like, I have a ton of ideas and I will say them out loud. And then somebody will be like, that's a good idea. And for me, I'm like, cool, that's enough. You know, I already got a good job, a pat on the back for coming up with a good idea. You know, I don't have to do anything. You know, I was literally one of those type of guys that would be, you know, someone invented Uber and I would have been like, you know, I could have thought of that. Like, that's dumb, you know, because, you know, but I didn't, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, that was one of the first things where I'm like, I want to do this. And I was ready to buy a camera first, to be honest with you. And I didn't actually right away. So the first 5 episodes were done on my phone, because that's the one conversation I did tell myself.
I remember that.
I was like, you know, if I can't do it with this, or don't do it with this, then I don't want to do it.
Bro, he is telling the truth. Yo, this is so consistent. I remember this. Because remember, you had bought it's not a selfie stick, but like the stabilizer, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you were saying. Wow, that's crazy.
No,
this
yeah.
is years later, and it's the same thing.
It's it's very true. I would always be the guy to buy every equipment first, because I had the idea, and then realize, like, oh shit, I don't even like doing this, you know? So I was like, you know what? I already have this. Like, let's see if I actually want to do it. So the first 5, and then the other thing was putting something out. Like, so sitting on something, or like the idea and being too scared to put it out. So that's why I made the commitment of, like, you know what, I'm just going to put one out every week. It looks like what it looks like, you know, or whatever happens. And those were like 2 really like new ideas to myself, of like being okay with putting something out that might end up, you know, being shitty, or like me not liking it or whatever, but just being okay with, like, well, it's out. You know what I mean? I don't have to hold on to it and be like, oh, well, they're still there. You know, I have tons of stuff, but I haven't edited or whatever. And just being like, again, not finishing that project for me. But then, like, every week gave me a deadline. I was like, well, it's got to be out, you know, by this time, so it's out. And then, like, okay, now by the time it's out, it's like, okay, now what are you doing next? Like, what's the next thing you're doing? And then, like, that, you know, that year, you know, I started doing like more outgoing things, and that was kind of the concept for it. It was like, man, I feel like I'm not doing anything, like, right now, like, not even like pursuing anything exactly, but in general, I felt like I was just like that monotonous lifestyle. Like, there's nothing really pushing me forward, like, here, or I don't have the drive for anything. So I'm like, I'm not even like going anywhere and enjoying my time that I have, you know, because I didn't have a lot of stuff to do at the time. Right. So that was just literally pushing me out to go out the house and do something, or like stay in the house and create something, you know,
be
like,
productive.
Yeah.
You know, feel useful.
Yeah.
To yourself.
Because my job wasn't doing that for me. Like, I wasn't like at a place where I'm like, no, at least I'm doing something here, you know, or felt like an accomplishment, like, from work, but I'm spending all my time there, and then the time at home, I'm just like, you know, what the kids saying now, brain rot, brain rotting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing that I did like that, and kind of was like self-pushing of, like, you know, I'm gonna do this, I want to put it out, because before I had a band, you know, so the band was helping me push, like, through things and stuff like that, but this was my first like solo thing, not on my own, obviously, because my friends helped me a lot of stuff with a lot of stuff that I did, but with self-driving, no one was telling me to do this, right. And I was just like, well, you know, I'm gonna do it. And to the next like point you made of like, oh, taking the skills that I grew there and like taking them into something else, you were one of the first persons to like really put that into perspective for myself. Cause you would always like compliment some stuff that I had, and was like, nah, like it's nothing or whatever, you know? And actually I've brought up your actually recently, maybe in the past like few podcasts, where I was like, well, no, like I can't really do like this or that, this and that. And you were like, dude, you have skills. He's like, I mean, what? He's like, tell me what you did with this video. And I'm like, oh, I just did this. And like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. And he's like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh. And then like, it kind of just like, I think that the term you said was like, you just need to take a step back from the picture and look at like how far like you've come or something like that. I remember you saying, and that was the thing. I'm like, oh, okay, I do have the skills. I need to stop playing the novice card all the time. Right. You know, to give me the excuse of like, I can't do that because I don't have X, Y, and Z or whatever. And just like, you know what? I have stuff, just do it. And it's helped a lot moving forward off of that. Because even just looking at like things that I've done, you know, in the past, you know, let's say just like Noise Ride, we're in our 3rd year, you know, just going how that's progressed like over the years, how more confident I am in stuff, and how more confident I am in just like fuck it, let's throw shit at the wall and see what happens. You know, there's nothing bad is gonna happen for me just fucking trying, you know.
And then what that evolves to, so it might start off throwing things at the wall, and then all of a sudden you got some technique in your wrist, you know, and things like that. Exactly. I want to say to every like creative, like this is a real example, right? Did you hear what he said? He didn't know what he was doing. He just took the actionable steps. It became tangible, and he was able to self-motivate, take the risk, and it grew into something else. I mean, I think that's so important. Yeah. That's really what separates, I mean, it sounds cliches, but the doers from the people who don't, right? So 1,000%, like, I'm proud of you. And like I said, I'm really interested to see where it goes from here. There was something I was going to say. It's piggybacking off of what you just said towards the end, throwing things at the wall, see if it sticks. I don't remember, but it'll come back to me later. But you ain't throwing things at the wall anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, the cool thing is I still am. Like, I like the fact that even though there is a lane, like, built out of, like, I've built a lane where I'm like, oh, now I can drive on this, you know? But I'm like, okay, now where are we going? You know what I mean? Like, where else can we go? You know, like, the road doesn't stop. It'll keep taking you places. So, for example, like, one thing, and it felt so, like, I'm not going to say dumb because I keep wanting to call myself dumb, but no. It seems kind of weird that, like, I hadn't picked up I've had these cameras for years now, and I have not, like, ever picked them up to take a picture. Like, at all. And then, like, I don't know when, I was just like, why not? You know, and then part of it was because I met a lot of creators, and I realized, like, I was admiring a lot of, like, my photographer friends, and I'm like, you guys create some really cool stuff. Like, you know, how? And then, I was really happy that my first thought wasn't like, cool, who do I get to tell me how to do this? It was more like, pick it up, go shoot some shit, like, look it up.
Created new neurons and pathways.
Yeah, and just being like, let's just figure it out, you know? And yeah, and I realized, like, oh, like, I'm having fun. And then I start realizing again, like, oh, then I'm there figuring out how to edit hours at a time, where I'm just like, again, it's that my biggest thing that tells me, like, you like doing this or you should keep doing this is, like, are you spending time on this and no one's fucking telling you to do it? Like, no one's paying you to do this, no one whatever. Right. Like, are you interested in it? And I'm like, yeah, if you are, if there's a slight, like, just interest in it where you're spending time, you know, out of your day learning this shit, that means keep at it. You know what I mean? Like, something's going to come out of it. And
you keep at it on the days that you're just not feeling it. You're bummed out. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, once you know you have a passion for it, man, that's the discipline, right? Like, hey, I know I love this. I'm just not feeling it today, but I have an obligation to this because it does interest me. And if I don't nurture it and I don't take care of it, then it will be a fleeting love affair.
Yeah, it's that feeling when sometimes, like, I used to get, again, it's more of the instant gratification of, like, someone telling you you're a good job, or like, oh, you, like, have natural talent at this. I was natural talent for, like, my whole life. It was always potential. It was always like, you're pretty good at this. And I'm like, cool, that's where it needs to stay. Like, you know, or that's where it's going to stay. You know, it doesn't have to go anywhere else because, like, people already think I'm good. And then you run into people that are really fucking good because they're working their ass off at something. And I'm like, fuck, that looks and feels way the fuck better to, like, earn something. Yes, you know, man. And that is something that, sure, it's a little, sometimes it ends up on the bad side of, like, feeling like I gotta earn everything, but putting something out and realizing, like, oh, I worked hard for this, you know what I mean? Oh, you know what's the perfect example? Like, tests. I used to always take pride in, like, damn, I didn't study at all and I got, like, a good grade, or I did this the night before, you know, it's nothing, you know, and used to take pride in that. And I realized more, like, it's like, that just shows, like, I don't put effort into anything, and I'm just, for all intents and purposes, like, I'm getting lucky. Like, I'm getting lucky, and I'm just maybe retaining a little bit of stuff. Maybe you know, whatever I'm doing is easier than what I think I'm doing. And I am judging my skill set based on, like, oh, I am, you know, I got high grades, and then I realized, like, oh, like, but work ethic isn't here. That's why it took me so long to create a work ethic, which I'm like, damn, I wish I would have worked on a work ethic and not worried too much about the result, but really worried about, like, how are you structuring, you know, your life to learn and to actually, like, put effort into stuff. Like, everything comes a lot easier when you know how to, like, work for it and work at it. But yeah, that was a big thing that it took me, you know, my 20s to really figure out and hammer down to where now I'm like, okay, like, you know, me and DJ bring it up with, like, he's been working with, like, Lewis and stuff like that, and and Lewis actually we've had conversations too, where I, like, I'll have those idea talks, and he's like, all right, and just do it, and then like, if my immediate thought is like why I can't do it, or like, yeah, I'll do it, but I need blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I need to just shut up, and I need to just figure out how to get over what I was just like, my first excuse was ready to be, because like my brain still runs to like an excuse first, but now I'm ready to catch myself and being like, you're ready to say, you either were just talking to talk and just saying like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. You're not really wanting to commit to it, or you just do it and then, figure it out later. You get the rewards later of something. You're like, okay, I'll talk more about this when I actually have something to show for it.
Do you ever think like, so it kind of sounds like actually the opposite is like, man, what is that thing called? It's called tall poppy plant syndrome. So, and I think I'm misusing it. It's either tall poppy seed, tall poppy plant. You know what I'm saying? But you know what it is, right? The little plant that they get, like that you get hair on from or whatever, right? So I don't know why they use this plant in particular. I'm sure that there's like some significance to it. But as I understand it, tall poppy plant syndrome, they say like us, or as I understand it, like Americans, one of the reasons we can be so innovative, right, is because we don't have that as opposed to, and I'm just going to throw a dart at a country. Let's say a Norway or UK in particular is where I think it's used often. It's like, you don't want to be the poppy plant that stands out above the rest, right? So you'll get chopped down because it's kind of like, who do you think you are? You're throwing off the balance. Kind of like how here in the West, we're about like being individual and say at least a stereotype of the Orient, maybe like a East, somewhere in East Asia, with the exceptions of like, I guess some of our colleagues like Japan or South Korea, it's kind of about being like conformist. You know what I'm saying? Do you ever feel like it's that as like, man, maybe I won't really belong, like imposter syndrome, I won't really belong here? Or do you think it's the opposite? It was like, man, I don't want to work so hard at this, and then maybe I'm not as good as I think?
I've gotten a bit of both. I think imposter syndrome has happened to me a lot more. Maybe even like maybe up until 2023 a lot more, where it would happen like in this specifically, like, and it was so weird because it would catch me hour or before a podcast where like up until like we start speaking, like I'm like, they don't want to be here, like literally like very vividly feeling like this person like is pitying me. They're doing this because they don't want to be here. They're doing me a favor, you know what I mean? And then we start talking, and I realize like, oh, I do this because I enjoy doing this. This person is here because like they want to be here. You know what I mean? And if they don't have to. And then you start realizing, yeah, people don't do stuff they don't want to do. Like for the most part. I mean, sure, whatever. But like things like this, it's like, oh yeah, why? What is incentivizing you other than like you would like to be here? In this particular case, but yeah, that's definitely gotten a lot better this year. But the other one, I've always been like fearful of like, damn, what if I'm not good enough, and then I think, which is why like, and then the responsibility that comes with like being good at something is now you're the person that people look to for like help or guidance with some stuff, and that's nerve-wracking. You know what I mean?
Right.
People being like, "Oh, like let me ask you something," and I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, I got it loaded. I'm just like, I don't know, like, why are you asking me? Like, and then like, there's certain stuff like, okay, like at a certain point, like I have to own up to that and being like, this is what I know, like, and if I can help, like I am gonna help, like, but I definitely always keep it open ended. But yeah, it's definitely has to do a lot with like, even with everything I've learned, I don't think I'm ever good enough to teach like anybody, or like to lead people. I have had that difficulty the more I've pursued actual passions. I think like earlier I used to be very like, I can lead anything because like, I don't know, maybe only child syndrome where I'm like, I got it,
Okay, yeah.
But now because I base a lot more stuff on actual substance and like, what do I actually have to offer? I'm like, I'm always like, I'm very much more like, let's listen to like all the options here, and perspectives, like before, we make a decision. But yeah, it is a lot of like nervousness around like, can I like lead in the field that I'm working in. You know?
Exactly.
But it is, it's becoming a lot less. It does manifest still in some ways, where like I procrastinate a certain like project or something, and that's because I'm like, oh, the less time I have to work on this, the more I'm able to be like, well, you know, I only did, you know, this for this amount. The start of the podcast like was because like I procrastinated. You know, I told DJ I was like, yeah, you know, it was again one of those throwing out ideas just because like I thought it was a good idea. I had just started listening to podcasts and I'm like, yeah, what if we do a podcast? Like, you know, we have 6 episodes. You know, we have 6 weeks up until, you know, Chill Sounds and Breakdowns. You know, I think it was the second one. And I'm like, I'll do 6 episodes, like 1 a week. It's pretty easy, blah, blah, blah. Cool. I ended up procrastinating until the last 2 weeks. And something just was like, you know what? You said you were going to do it, so now you got to do it. And then I did like 6 in those 2 weeks and got it done. But again, it was still with maybe that backup of like, well, I only had 2 weeks, you know, so this is the way they turned out. So it's a little bit of that early on. Now it's definitely not like, so I've had like certain things like happen like recently. So I've had like some cancellations like on the podcast and stuff like that. And rather than just like, let me find a replacement to come in, I'm like, you know what? If someone just comes in that I haven't prepared for in some way or fashion, then I don't want it to feel that jumbled or that junky or like clanky. Yeah. And you're catching myself where I'm like, I mean, because I edit these, so I have to listen to myself have this conversation again, and I'll be like, dang, I've said the same story on here, you know, this many times. Or like, oh, when someone brings this up, I go to the same barrel, you know, like right away, you know. So like, oh, okay, how do we grow from that? How do we do this? But it's
you have
a lot
to be
more
courageous to do this, because I mean, I'm sure if you've listened to podcasts before, right? And you go to the comments, I mean, like you said, it's people who will tune in every time, so they're gonna know you better than you know yourself. Like you know Vlad, I'm assuming. I don't know if you ever watch it, but Vlad TV, like in the comments, they probably know him better than his mama. They know, or Joe Rogan the same way.
Yeah.
You know how they'll put Joe, oh, that's amazing, or Joe, have you tried DMT Rogan? You know what I'm saying? Like you know, you're opening yourself up to criticism.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and you know, taking it some with like a stride, like, well, like the reason I go to this well is because it does pertain to it, and I haven't talked to this person about it, you know. So, and that conversation doesn't. I don't think it's ever once gone the exact same way, you know.
No.
So it's like I mean, obviously the perspective that's going to stay mostly the same is going to be mine, you know, because I'm here like every time.
Every time,
but you know, who's in the chair changes, and like that's where it's.
And you don't need to apologize for having a tool belt.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
when I have this issue, this is the tool I use. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, a flathead, it's boring, but this is what I use. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same deal with whatever you might put out. And you know, when it works, it works. When it makes sense, it makes sense. So yeah, like I said, I think it takes a lot of courage to do it. You know, so once again, shout out to you.
Yeah, but we're gonna get off me for a second. We've been talking about me for 20 minutes. That's why, man, I like you.
I mean,
just kidding.
Man, I'm not done, but we can you know,
we'll
move along for a second.
Some other stuff, but man, you have been all over the place for the past. Let's say like since the last time we sat down and like really spoke. You've been doing stuff internationally now. Like Aeronotiqz has like gone international now. I think the first show I saw really go was the Colombia one. Like
the one in Medellin.
Yeah,
we did two. So the one in Medellin, the first one, I think,
yeah. Which first, I mean, you were doing a lot of stuff in California. I know, like, is it Phoenix? Was it Arizona?
Phoenix, yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one for us.
You were doing a lot of stuff, so I was seeing you like out of town and even stuff like out of town in the state and then like out of the state, and I'm like, oh, you know, flying out to stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool. But I remember seeing that first international show and being like, what is like Dizzi in like going into like how did that jump just happen like to create that sort of show in Colombia?
Man, I might be a polygamist. I just married my loves. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, this is what we do, you know, as far as, you know, event organizing and things like that. I mean, you know, we do a lot of things to close. I've got one on right now, bringing the events together, the music. And then on a personal tip, you know, I love travel. And then always have been about expansion. That's like always been the thing, always been about expansion. I love the local scene. I support the local scene a lot. I put a lot of local artists on their first out of town shows. You know what I'm saying? depending on the relationship we have, I make sure that they get to meet the headliners, and I'm making sure, hold on, stop. Hey, DJ, make sure he shouts out his stuff. Whoever first such and such to follow him gets a free item. I really do try to support our local artists out of town. But it's always been bigger to me than DFW to Texas. You know, I want the world. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot. I've seen the world a little bit, not a lot. I haven't been to a lot of countries, I guess, like comparing to some people, but I want the world. You know what I'm saying? I want the world. And then if you look at it from a business perspective, I've just always said, okay, like if I can make X amount in Dallas is like what? Top 15 biggest cities in the country. I don't know where it falls under there, right? So it's like, okay, then hit Los Angeles, second biggest market. Okay, I can do there. Hit Phoenix, I think 6, 7 biggest market in the US. Then you start looking at other people who do this, and I'm like, okay, Mexico City, 20 million people. Got to be able to make some money there. You know what I'm saying? Got to. Sao Paulo, Brazil, you know what I'm saying? Like 30 million people there. Got to be able to make some money. No wonder these international acts. So I look at people like Daddy Yankee, the Pitbulls, though especially like reggaeton artists. I looked at them and I look at their tour schedule, and I'm like, well, duh, they have to hit Rio de Janeiro, 7 million people. But you have to hit these places, you know, especially when they're jumping. So that's all it was, just looking towards expansion. And then, just like you said, I was going to tell you this earlier, you know, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So like one of my closest partners in Colombia, his name is Juan Pablo, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we met many years ago. I think the first time I went to Colombia, like 2015, 2016, and we've been tight ever since. And so like he was really instrumental because we were into the same things, you know, that law of attraction. Yeah. So he's been really instrumental of like getting clothes sold down there, getting in contact with artists and things like that. So it's always been in the playbook, I guess is what I'm saying, in a long-winded way. Yeah,
I definitely know like that it wasn't like the wild out of the idea. It was just wild to see your business going out of the country, because you yourself like love to travel. Like
right.
There was actually probably now you were the wildest sentence, like not the wildest, but I read and I showed Sierra when I think you sent me a text like, yeah, I'll be. What were you saying? You were like, I'll be here this day, like, and then I'm flying out to like this, and then I'll be working in New York like this day. And it was like in the span of like 3 days or something like that.
Yeah.
But even before then, like you were always traveling to just places out of the state, out of stuff. Like it looked like you were just like loving to be somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's that thing we talk about. Like I don't know if we talked about it on camera or if it was beforehand. Like getting a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was like in high school, and like my partner James, he went to school with us too. He used to tell you, I used to be, boy, like, where you going? I was like, bro, I'm taking the train to Dallas. And he was like, what you gonna do over there? I was like, I don't know. And then I'll be in Dallas, and then I take like I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Carrollton. I never been there. Let's see what's going on and little things like that. So yeah, so just marrying those things. But that's always been a perspective, man. You know, like the clothes have touched, you know, pretty much every continent. And that feels good. Like I was in Africa last month, you know what I'm saying? I got some clothes off, some videos of people having them. Obviously in Europe, I've done that. North America, South America, the Caribbean. So those things feel good, right? When you know, I'm sure you understand. I'm sure when you look at your analytics and it's like, oh, such and such or somebody from here looked at this, or there's a couple views from this place, or whatever it could be. It makes you feel like, all right, well, if I could convert 2, then I could probably convert more. You know, let's see how far we could take it. So yeah.
I have a hard time visualizing like the way you do, like for expansion.
Okay.
I am very too close. I still have that same issue of being too close to the picture, and it's hard for me to widen that out and figure out like, how do we take this further than the direct influence that I have? You know what I mean? Like it is very still difficult for me to see that sometimes. DJ helps a lot with like a lot of bigger picture stuff. Maybe like a year ago, he brought up the idea of like, oh, you know, it'd be cool like to take an artist and maybe like develop them, maybe handle all their like, you know, creative stuff, their, you know, visual stuff, like, you know, studio things, blah, 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 like, and then their social media and content stuff. He's like, you can do that. And immediately like mine's like, that's too much responsibility. I can't do that. Like I don't have my thing jumps to like, I don't have the skill set for that. It wasn't until like, honestly, I picked up the camera, started taking pictures, and then I realized like, oh, I've been making just content like for years now. And like, I do understand like these certain, again, it takes sometimes an outside perspective to let me know like how much knowledge I am intaking or how much information I am intaking, and able to flip that around into something we're creating. And then it was just like, oh, like I can see myself finding an artist that I like and want to support, and being able to be like, okay, like you be an artist, let me figure out the rest of like the stuff, like the things that I like to make, like the content creating and like all this stuff, and you know, photos, everything you need to like share like stuff on the side that maybe you don't particularly like want to think about, because there's a lot of like that artists where I'm like, you know, I don't want to have to worry about, you know, social media or posting or creating this such and such or figuring this stuff out. I just want to play music, I want to play shows, cool. But just when I was able to pick up another skill and be like, oh, okay, there's the package that I can offer and develop like an artist that way. Then I look and like, oh, well, DJ literally brought up that idea to me like a year ago, but I couldn't picture it until it was tangible, I guess, for me. Right. Uh-huh. So like that the creative and imaginative like part of like expansion doesn't make sense until I like have something I can hold, I guess, into it.
See, but I think for you at least that'll be less and less, because once you've done it so many times, you know, it's less daunting. Like for us, like we call it like manifest destiny. That's what I always use. So like when we've been expanding, so like for example, in the last less than 12 months, I have to say probably like the last 8 months, done shows in like Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, New York City, this weekend Minnesota. They're gonna do Ohio, know what I'm saying? Where else? New Orleans, obviously San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles. Those are just core markets for us. DFW, Albuquerque, New Mexico went crazy. And I know I'm missing places. Like, so it's like 10 markets that I'm mentioning right now. Yeah. It's like the last few months. And when it's either a priority or passion, well, however you want to describe it, it does make it easier, right? When it's like, hey, it's a priority for us to go from sea to shining sea, right? Yeah. Use those words from school, right? Sea to shining sea. I want to hit both. So it's like, okay, yeah, we just hit Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. Now we're doing New York. Okay, Philadelphia's next. And when you prioritize it, even from a fiscal point of view, I always look at like, okay, I know Albuquerque, New Mexico is going to do well. I know Phoenix is going to do well. I know San Antonio is going to go crazy. So the gains that we get from that, even though this is a riskier investment, what we'll do is, because it's priority, right? Take some of the gains from here that'll cover the possible losses. And, you know, it's like it's an investment. So sometimes I'm like, oh, it did amazing. And other times I'm like, oof, well, basically I broke even, even though I might have gotten a 25% gain on the San Antonio show. I had to take from that to cover this. But there's also the things that there's other metrics to use, right? Okay, well, I got a relationship with this venue now. I got 10, 15 openers that I know. I saw who can bring out some heads. So if I need to, I get an email list, right? So I got like an email list. So if I ever need to route something else, or if I want to help somebody wants to pay for a consultation and they want to enter this market, I've gotten some information now. So that's valuable, right? It's just a different metric. Obviously it's not monetary, but it's definitely something valuable that we've gotten. So if I broke even, or even if I lose like a couple thousand, I've gotten this information and this experience that really balances that out. If not, tips the scale in its favor of doing that. So it always has to be like passion, priority, and then if you do that and you plan ahead for it, it seems to always be worth it. And then once you do it several times, you know, it's like you said, it's less daunting. I've done it before, okay, you know. Yeah,
and I think making that not a decision or choice, but having that knowledge that you need to walk away with something, like whether it's knowledge, a contact, or you profit off of like something needs to come away from like whatever you just did. Like you can't come away like empty handed off of anything. Like it can't just be like a going through the motions things. Like everything has to be like active, like every time you're doing something. Like,
I agree.
And that's another thing again that goes with learning of like, oh, okay, like these are the possibilities like to make, like we recently the videos that you were talking about. So the Plus Fest was the first time we did it, and it was just out of like, again, it's one of those like things that I think I would like to do this, but I don't know where the chance is. So Plus Fest, I think DJ, we were providing a backline like for them. So we were already going to be there, and they're like, yeah, they let us have a table. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if they'll let me do social media like while I'm there. Like they don't, I was like, I'm pretty sure they don't have anybody specifically trying to cover like or do stuff. So I'm like, cool, I have all the stuff for it. I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. let's do it. We did that one, and I'm like, oh, that was fun. Videos did well. Like, people liked it. Cool. And then we did the ones at Halton for Hardcore Fest. It did better, and had, I think you even called me about like one of them that was like doing like numbers on it, and it's like, oh, which is another thing I have to like really learn about, putting money behind stuff that's like working.
Yeah.
But we did that one, and I was like, cool, and then I met I had this friend. She's a photographer. Her name's Constance. And then she was doing coverage for, this. I don't know if have you heard of Van Full of Nuns? They're like that cover, like emo cover band that they do a lot of like huge events like around town.
Like local?
Yeah, local. Okay. And then like they have this festival apparently that they throw in Buda, okay. Texas. But it's this Pop Punk's Not Dead Fest, and they've like they do very well. Like
I've seen it on my feed.
And then like they, that friend she's like, oh, I'm doing all their photography coverage like for the event and stuff like that. I'm like, cool. And we were just like chopping it up. We were talking, and that's the first time I've used chopping it up. I've been on the internet too much. We're chopping it up. We were just talking, and I was like, yeah, like we've been doing like this, social media stuff, and it's been kind of cool, like to talk to like the audience and things like that. And she's like, hey, like have this connection with this person, like you want me to float your name like out there and see if like they need anybody to do that? And I'm like, sure. And in the moment I was like, this seems like somebody like that they have it together,
right?
And for a second I was like, I don't know, in my head, but I was like, yeah, like good. And because I'm like, if I say yes, then I have to back it up, like whether I'm scared or whether like I don't think I can do it, like it doesn't matter, I said yes already. And then we have a conversation, we go out there, it's like this new experience. And then when I'm there, I'm like, we got to work our ass off, like here. And so I think I promised, I was like, yeah, the conversation we had was like, I can probably do like 5, to 10 pieces of content for you, like during the day. And for something, I was like, yeah, so that you can post day of. And I'm like, that's a lot. And I think we ended up doing like 15, that day. Okay. And it was raining. We didn't have a place to set up like for me to edit. So I was having to walk, like we'd have to go take like videos, walk all the way down to where we park, which was way at the back of the lot of that venue. It's what's the place called? Something backyard. I can't remember exactly what it is. But it had a huge outdoor venue part, which they were going to use, but it got rained out, so everything was inside. So we were walking like all the way back, like to get to my computer to like edit stuff, and then I would give it to Bern. We didn't have the Wi-Fi access for like the first like 2 hours. All these like things going wrong, but it was such a like trial by fire where it's like, well, we figure it out because we need to figure it out, and it worked, and then it created a working relationship. It's like, hey, right. I really like what you guys did. It's like, okay, we have an event like coming up, in July, which we're doing actually this weekend, this Friday. He's like, we have an event coming there. Like, would you guys be able to do, coverage? And then there's more like, now I have stuff to back it up to where I'm like, okay, cool. Like now I'm getting hired on for another thing, because of the work that I've learned over here. And again, it shows like all the stuff that I've been scared of, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this or, should be doing this, or like, do I have the skill sets? Can I really market myself as someone who can do this? And I'm like, well, I did it. You know what I mean? Like whether or not, and now to the point where like, okay, they're hiring me for something else. And now I have more, again, experience and more of that like confidence to be like, oh yeah, let's market this to more people. Who else wants this type of like service and things like that?
Do you think like those, those type of situations bring the best out of you? Like as far as like, like that kind of pressure makes diamonds kind of thing. Yeah. Like you gotta show and prove, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then it's like things going wrong, so you gotta problem solve. Do you feel like that's like that is it Jimmy Neutron where he starts thinking and all the calculations start going, you know what I'm saying?
It's definitely, it helps focus.
For sure.
Because there's nothing else to focus on but like whatever
task at hand.
Yeah. When I get into like the bad habit, it's like the more time I have for something, then the more like I'm like, well, there's time for it. You know what I mean? Which I personally, what I found out is I just need to stay active all the time. Like I just can't take breaks.
Right.
Like a decent break. Cause it doesn't work for me. And then that's not only just, for like productivity, but just life in general. Like my mood immediately, like if I start feeling like I'm getting depressed or something like that, it's because I haven't like been doing anything.
Yes.
Like, and it's immediate.
Yes,
it's almost comical how immediate it is for me. Like it's maybe a day or two of just like if I
Just being
doom
a slug,
scroll or
being
doing
sluggish,
nothing or not doing anything, and I'm like, dude, like I am just the worst right now. You know what I mean? And now I'm like, no, I just need to make one thing every day, and it's like at least one thing. I like make one thing, one certain thing, and then that'll feed like that day. And it's like, and then there'll be other days where you're making like 5-10 things, or really wanting like to flex. We'll talk about like that little like the skit that you were talking about that we made. You know what I mean? That was an idea that like ideas that I've wanted to do. But I'm like, oh, it's a lot of effort. Like, it wasn't. I mean, what the video was like maybe not even a minute long.
No, not even a minute.
We were shooting for like an hour and a half. And then I think I missed shots, so I had to shoot them like a different day. And then figuring out like day of like certain like little things, and then but I was like, okay, like let's do it to elevate something. So that day I had the effort, to do something a little bit more complicated. Then we do like other stuff that's like, oh, this one's easier, but
exactly.
It's still
because you're building a skill set.
It's still a thing, what I mean? It's still something that's getting put out and done, and that's actually a little more recent. Of like, I want to do something like every day, like on this type of creative content, I guess.
Right, for sure. I mean, what do they say? Because I think I'll use, since this is kind of a religious saying, I'll say what it seems like you have, and what I think I have too, is maybe I have a naturally sluggish spirit. So that's not that's not the best of me, but like, say if the devil's attacking me, that's how he's gonna get me. Because they say idle hands is the devil's playground.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So no, I get that. Yeah, you got to be productive because it's good all around. It's good mentally. Once you do, it's like cleaning the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you leave that there for a day if you want to, bro. Before you know it, it's like 3 days, and then you don't even want to tackle that, and then it just becomes a down. You be throwing away clothes and dishes and stuff because you don't want to wash them.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So, but like, as soon as you do it and you take over, you be like, look at me, and then you be like, man, I'm already going. What else can I do? And then you feel like, and then you sleep better at night. It's like the sleep is always deeper afterwards. Or I think somebody said one time, when you clean your cars, like the AC blows cooler. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, like. Being productive, and I think this is for most human beings, not just people with a personality like you. Definitely something productive, earning, like you said, that clear word earlier, earning it. It helps you sleep better at night. It makes you refocused. You wake up better. You wake up with more purpose, and everything else will just start to align. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
No, for me especially, it's funny you said clean, like, because I literally just got rid of. Not threw away or anything, but like half my closet that I've been like, I've had stuff in here that just needs to go. You know what I mean? But it's funny because once I give myself a big task, any small task I accomplish before I get the big task done doesn't mean anything to me. Like, doesn't do enough to make me move forward. So I think that was like 2 weeks that I had like thought that idea, and I'm like, I'm like, dude, every day feels like I didn't do anything. Because like I said I was gonna do something and I haven't done it. Right. And it just like, it takes one day, just like, oh, like doing all this, and then that day like I do that project which takes like maybe like 2 hours, and then immediately like, oh, I want to do like this, and I'm ready like to like get going, and I'm like, like it just makes sense. Again, everybody's different, but yeah, for me especially, like if I get going, like you realize momentum is like for me almost immediate, where I'm like, oh, I'm ready to do more stuff, you know what I mean, and start building. So if I can keep that up, even if, again, that's why like the only thing I hold myself right now is to like do something every day. Like, amen. Don't finish crazy amounts of stuff, or set yourself up to fail with the amount of tasks you're setting yourself up. But if my minimum is like one thing to get done, I was like, okay, cool, I can do one thing, and then I realized that one thing was too easy, and I'm like, I can do more.
Do another thing. I was about to say, it regulates your productivity. You know what I'm saying? Because if you, like you said, if you dedicate yourself to doing something at least once a day, even if it's on your lowest of days, that means the days where you're like, oh, I got some extra energy and I want to take on this project. I mean, you're just so much more productive than had it have been, you know what, I'm not going to do nothing the next 5 days, but on the 6th day, that's when you know what I'm saying? You get so much more accomplished. And it's like, compounding interest, right? I mean, the more productive you are, the more you build on it, then the less daunting other tasks start to seem. And then you do that for 10 years. On the 10th year, you know what I'm saying? What used to be your one task, what used to take you an entire day, is now your one task a day, because you've become more efficient. You know how to tackle things. I mean, it's important. It's important.
Definitely important. one thing I want to tackle is music, man. What's going on?
Talk to me, man.
On? Actually, yeah, it's funny, and it's funny that you're here because there's a story I bring up about you a lot on this podcast when we talk about writing and just music. And I talk to people a lot. It's like, yeah, I've sat in like some studio sessions, and yours is one of them that I am always just baffled by how quick like you are with your creativity. Because I remember that you were recording with DJ. You're like, it's like I have like 3 songs I want to do, and we're like, all right. And then you come in and you're like, I was like, oh, okay, so like you have them done, and it's like, no, we're gonna figure them out here. And I remember just sitting there, and you had like, which ones did you write? Dang it, I'm trying to remember the what's the sex party one?
Oh, I don't remember the name of the record, but after 11 o'clock, you pass them those you better not.
That one? And then the one that, you were learning Portuguese at the time? You were...
Oh, no, I was learning French. I know that one, yeah. That was never coming out. That was never coming out. That wasn't my best work, yeah.
No, it wasn't French. It was...
Oh, no.
It's Portuguese.
Favela Flow.
Favela Flow. Favela Flow. I think it was that one, and that other song, and there was one more I can't remember you were working on. But just seeing your, like, it felt like a flow state for you of, like, of creativity and you writing stuff. And it felt like you were freestyling stuff, but then like for me, the baffling thing again, because we all write different, and I was just looking at it, I was like, oh, the stuff you're like freestyling makes sense, and like all the stuff that I would freestyle to like write music, I'm like, I'll just say nonsense here and I'll figure it out later. But you were piecing stuff together in the studio, and I just, is that normally like how you approach like writing, or do you? Because I know you didn't have the ideas fleshed out. I think most of it you had like maybe rhythms and maybe like your cadences of stuff or an idea of it, but it was a lot of like, yeah, it felt like a flow state where you were just like thinking, and I'm like, that's what's going in, and but it made sense to the song like creatively.
So what I'll say, like when it comes to like my process when it comes to like making music, one thing that like probably people don't know is like I make concept records. You know what I'm saying? Like if you ever notice in the music that I have, there's like always unless it's like just strictly called a freestyle or something, there's like a concept to it. So like, you know, Side Nigga Nation, obviously the whole song is about one thing. OnlyFans, the song is about one thing. So it's easy for me to operate within that framework. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just spitting things out. Cause if you're freestyling, you know, you say something crazy sometimes. So, and then also what I do is I'll have like, I mean, in my phone, in several phones, I've gotten like, just things that I think are interesting, rhyme schemes, little punchlines, you know, and then as you're going through it, you're like, oh, you know what? This one could fit here. Or, you know, hey, look, I need to say something interesting. The last 4 bars have just been me rapping. So how can I make this fit with what's going on here? So, but depending on, and I also come prepared. Like maybe I don't have it all fleshed out, but I probably heard the beat 50 times before I get there. Cause there was a time when, like we would record, like shout out to Clay West, you know what I'm saying? When I would record, he would record, I would record, or then we would go do it at a studio. You know, we didn't have money, so I couldn't go in there like waste people's time. So I have something in there, like I've listened to it and I know, hey, this is the flow that I want to use. This is what I want to do with my voice on this part. This is what I'm gonna do on this part, you know, whatever. And then maybe just the finer details is what I'm gonna work out, you know, especially like when you're working with the engineer and where he might be able to drop it at, or when engineers do their little cool stuff. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I leave room. It's loose enough to where I can make the adjustments, but I'll have like a skeleton. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes the beat is good and the vibe is good and then the concept is good and you're talking to somebody and then, hey, you said something that made me laugh. You build on that. I mean, you know how it is. So
that's true. Well, that makes more sense. The framework, like, and I was like this. I think that makes them more, because you do like all the songs that I think, especially those like had a certain framework that you're like, this is the type of, or this is what I want to talk about, you know, and then so I already know like whatever I'm talking about limits itself to this, you know, framework that I'm working in, and I want the song to be about this. And
like even Favela Flow, which is just like me, I mean, just because the beat, so the only reason it's called, that's why it's called a flow, right? Because I'm just rapping, I'm not talking about too much, but that's the whole concept. So the whole song is like, you know, just like I'm throwing out a lot of punchlines. You know what I'm saying? I'm throwing out a lot of punchlines. You know what I mean? I'm doing, and I'm taking also on that song too, which I do this a lot in my music. I take a lot of I reference a lot of other people's work. You know what I'm saying? I do a lot of that. Even if I don't do it directly, like, take the word for word, I'm gonna take like the cadence and then, but you gotta be in the know. You know how it is. You gotta be in the know to know what I took it from, or I'm gonna spin it, which a lot of artists do that. So that's always a big one. So like for Vela Flow, there's no concept. That's why I'm just saying stuff. But almost everything else I do, there's a concept behind it. And I'm pretty opinionated, so it's not that hard to start to, do 16 bars about something or 32 bars.
Yeah, I remember that was one thing that I think it's when I started picking up that I do it a lot is I'll be like, I'm the one to point out like, wait, that's from like that.
Yeah. No,
and I realized like I try to hold it back as much as I can these days because I'm like, man, nobody wants like their song picked apart like immediately. I'm like, oh, this is from that, and I've told like artists like the reason I do it is because I find it fascinating. I'm not accusing you of nothing. I just think it's so cool, and most of the time it's because like yes, I did something on purpose, or it's because that's what I've been listening to, or that's what's inspiring this. So yeah, something like bleeds over, and I'm just like fascinated by that. You know what I mean? I think maybe when I was younger, I would be more like, oh, they stole this from this, But the older I've gotten, I'm just like, oh, it's just cool. Like that means either they have listened to that, and if they haven't, then that's even crazier. I mean, that's cool that like that aligns somehow in like.
Or if they catch it, because I still do that with artists. I'll hear like I was listening to like a Boosie song maybe X amount of weeks ago, and then he said something. I was like, man, why is that? It's like triggering something in my brain. And then I was listening to Tupac maybe some weeks after that, and I was like, oh, that's where he got it from. But you got to be in the know. What is that literary device called, bro? It's starting to make me upset. It's not alliteration. There's another word for it. When you reference somebody else's work, it's a literary device.
Illusion?
An illusion. There you go.
Right.
I knew it was an A word, AL word. Illusions. I love
those
illusions.
Those are the ones I get mixed up.
You,
you said one, and I'm like, it's got to be the other.
Got to be the other one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what it is. An illusion. I love illusions. I do that like on almost, because especially a lot of artists that influence me. Because I didn't start off listening to rap. You know what I'm saying? So I had to like play catch up. I was that kid like when YouTube came out. Since a lot of my homeboys and stuff, they was listening to rap since they were born. Since I had to play catch up. I'm talking, you can ask, shout out to Clay West, right? Because I didn't have internet in my house. So I used to spend the night at his house, and he used to get so angry because I'm on his computer for like 17 hours just listening to albums and burning CDs and burning CDs and burning CDs. And that made me feel like more in tune with the culture. I was like, oh, I know what he's referencing now. Oh, I get this sample. So in my work, I love to do that. I love to do it. Juvenile's a big one. Zero's a big one that I'll do. Tupac, Pink Floyd. I have a song where I do Pink Floyd. I'll take from anybody. You know what I'm saying? If I like it and I dig it and it touched me and I got it and it had an impact on me, undoubtedly I'm gonna put it in a record for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely more. I don't know, from the people that I've seen it from, and I don't know. I think I take everything as like it's more well-intentioned, but I was like, it's just because like you admire people and you're like, I like that. You know what I mean? I think about like how I like learned to sing. I copied the crap out of my favorite like singers and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, like I want to do that. Like, and then I'm like, oh, like I'm writing a song. Like, why would I not put it in there? Like, it's good. Like, I like it. And it takes a lot of emulation before you like figure out like, oh, okay, this is what I can do and what I enjoy doing, you know what I mean? But even then, like influences, you're always like taken from everything, you know, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, like it happens so much. So like why fight it and why criticize? Like, oh well, this sounds like this, and I'm like, cool. So like,
and you have like a database. So you saying, because one time I did it in front of you, and I couldn't put my finger on it. It was I think it was that song. It was like I was singing on the hook, and then like I said something like now the world seems colder, something like that. And I was like, dang, it's something, bro. It's something. And then finally you got it. It was like, the world has too many freedoms. Yeah. And like, that wasn't on purpose, but it's so impactful, right? You do it. And then they sampled that from somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so on and so forth.
No, you forget. Oh man, what's the crazy one that I see? The
most sample one? Or?
I think one of the ones I've seen like that was the Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baja Man has 9 different artists that did the song.
For real?
Yeah, like it's crazy, like the amount. But that, or what's the I don't know, what's the most sampled?
That's what I was just about to ask you. The most sampled song. Man.
It's like an old school
And
band.
it's like an obvious one too.
Yeah, it's. Damn it, I can't think of
you
it
got
right now.
you got the internet at your fingertips, but we can figure.
Yeah, nah, you know what? I miss those days where you just like if you didn't know something, you didn't know.
You didn't know it, bro. It's just,
Or you just speculate wildly.
yeah, or you just make it up and you go with it. You know what? I'm saying?
You know what? About actually, I don't know how this will segue into this, but so AI, right? It's kind of the same thing that I'm feeling like right now with like, oh, let me look it up, and I'm like, oh, that's okay if I don't know. It's not the biggest deal. But so like, I have like different opinions like on AI. So there's stuff that I like out of it, and there's stuff that I don't. And it's very obvious sometimes with just the way that I react to stuff, But like, for example, like so I've been doing like photography. There's like a thing on there, like so if you take a photo and like it's too dark in there and you increase this setting, the ISO on your camera, like you get digital noise, which just looks like graininess on it.
Right.
So like not Photoshop, but Lightroom has like an AI now that'll pretty much clean that up for you, like to a degree. Like you have to.
It's just like a little bit more profound than autocorrect.
Pretty much, yeah. So it'll take that out and leave the photo looking pretty, good. Depending on how much you can do too much, and then it's like, oh, it looks weird or whatever. But it does that automatically for you versus you having to manually go in and do a lot of shit.
Right.
And I'm like, that's cool. I would rather not do that manually. So that's a tool. So I'm like, I like it being used as a tool. But like in certain aspects, like I think I was gonna do like an interview with this band, and I was like, oh, I want to do like a little short video, and I want to ask him some questions while he's on tour. Like this wasn't part of like the bigger interview, but I was like, this is like a short clip. And I was like thinking, I'm like, what would be interesting? And I'm thinking, and then I asked Sierra, I was like, hey, like what would be like an interesting question, this and that. And then we're kind of just talking, and then she gets on her phone and goes on ChatGPT and like puts a prompt in like, what are interesting questions? And then she hands them to me, and I'm like, no. And I was like immediately defensive, not because like you're using ChatGPT, but I'm like, in that particular case, I'm like, I was asking you, like, I want to know what like you as a person, like you who enjoys music and stuff, like what would you find interesting? You know what I mean? Not the consensus of like everything online. Like there's certain, again, it goes back to me having to earn certain things. Right. So I'm like, and also like trying to be as authentic as you can to like something real. And there's certain things that I think AI pushes a little too far into where it's cool. I think it's super neat. I think it's capable of so much, but in creativity, it does irk me a little bit on certain aspects of it, I guess. So that it doesn't get like too, I guess, generic into a point. Yeah.
Man, what I say, so my personal experience with AI was like in ChatGPT in particular, I think is what it was. And didn't like Snapchat have something for a little bit?
I think they have something. I think like Instagram has something, Facebook.
So what I'll say is like, it's just like you said, it's another tool, you know what I'm saying? Because like when it first came out, I was like, oh, you know what? Like in like the language learning community and stuff, everybody was like, oh, people coming in trying to monetize it. You don't need a tool anymore. Use ChatGPT or whatever. So I went to like use it, but it's like a lot of stuff. For me, clearly it had limitations. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's gonna be like that with whatever you can apply it to. Like I was like, all right, let me see, how well how far along it can get me. And trying to learn French was a specific one that I remember like interacting with AI for, and no, it sucked. You know what I'm saying? It was too limited. You know what I'm saying? There's things that it won't be able to do, that it's not able to do, that it won't be able to do. So yet. See, okay, yet. But look at it like this. Let's think. I mean, there's just so many things that technology should have took out already, but it hasn't. Right? Like for example, that should be obsolete. Well, I guess nobody can see it. That guitar right there should be obsolete. But that guitar should be obsolete. I mean, a photographer should be obsolete. You know what I'm saying? For one, to be honest, a vocalist should be obsolete. You know what I'm saying? A teacher should be obsolete. Like technology should have taken those away already. But like you said, hey, maybe in 100 years, all those things will be obsolete.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to hear this guy plug no strings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He can never, it can never be as perfect as whatever a computer does or a program does or software does. But I think there'll always be limitations. And I think as humans also will adapt. So there'll be things that will just be, okay, this can do this way better than I could, right? So let me innovate. That's part of like who we are as a species, I believe. Let me innovate. And then, it'll have to catch up. And then by the time it catches up, I think we'll adapt again,
Yeah, I think it'll become normal, you know what I mean? And then, the way we do stuff now is like going to be the obsolete because it always happens, you know what I mean? Like everything like has an old way of doing it when you realize like, damn, people used to do it that way. Like, or, the old, like I used to have to walk whatever, like that many miles to get.
Oh yeah, those lies.
You know
but I mean, look at cars, man. The Jetsons have not happened yet. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Like, and like the Jetsons haven't happened yet. The cars aren't flying. They're still used off of, dinosaur fluids. You know what I'm saying? Like some things, and it's funny. Some things even get regressive, right? Like electric cars, for example, right? I think electric cars were supposed to come out before gas powered cars, but for whatever reasons we stuck to petroleum. So I don't know. I think there'll always be. I think there's always going to be space for human creativity.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah, I think so. Just because it always has for a while. Like people still like having a person behind stuff. Like it's. Again, unless that new normal changes in like, however many years, or it's like, oh, okay, net where it'll be weird to have a person in charge. You know what I mean? Like what if like that at first, I think that I was looking at, what am I trying to say? I keep saying I think maybe AI needs to take over, man. It would have a more extensive vocabulary than I do. No, but it was like when people were doing like those pictures of themselves or whatever, they would just like generate images off their faces. And it was clunky, at first. I'm like, oh, like it can't do hands and this and that. And then you realize like others. Then I think how it's just really interesting to see how quick it's getting. I guess it's kind of like getting better exponentially. So it's very interesting just to see what.
Yeah, it would be cool to see where it ends up, bro. Yeah. It'll be cool. You know what I'm saying? But
anyways, back to your music. Yeah, like you know, we technically have a song together.
It's not technically, we do.
We do.
We have.
I need to redo it.
I think we have like 2 together.
2.
There's like one you sung like background vocals on.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. There's one you sung. I was singing, I think, and then you sung the. Oh, it's and that song hasn't came out either. That one's one with like no concept. It's Oh, it doesn't have a name because it doesn't have concept. I'm like trying to think of the name. It doesn't have a name. But we sung a part together. We did like a duet. We took, and look, this goes back to Illusions earlier. Yeah. We took the Tengo Calderón and Don Omar.
Oh, yeah, Aunque digan que soy.
Yeah, we did that one together, fool. Yeah. No, but we do have one together. And Shay's on it too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shay's on it. Yeah, I don't know why we never shot a video to that. Because I remember wanting to shoot a video to it. It's probably my fault. I won't put the blame on anybody else. I don't know why we never shot a video to it. Especially at that time, I know Shay was like really.
I don't even know how long ago like the video came up again, but I was like, I have this in my phone. Marco Polarized like recorded a video of us performing the song, and I'm like, oh, should I have this here? And I looked at it, I'm like, damn, let me put that out. But I remember like when I sang it live, I liked the way I did it more than the way I did on recording. But I think I was just like, I think I couldn't figure it out fully. And when we were recording process, and then when like I don't know if like later on, I just like. It made sense to me, and I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, I'm ready to.
We say right here, right now. What's today? Is it like July something? July 16th?
July 16th.
July 16th. I say we give ourselves a hard deadline. Let's say by October 16th. You know what I'm saying? We have a video shot to it. I say we give out right
October
here. You
16th,
heard it. We have a video shot.
That's like.
It's 3 months, man.
It's 3 months.
That's 3 months. That's time for you to re-record it if that's what you really want to do. That's time for us to find a day where our schedules match, and that's more than enough time. I would say hard stop. We got to put it out by October 16th. You know what I'm saying? But let's do it. Say it right. 16th? Let's do it, bro. We just got. You have a relationship with Shay still?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we like each other stuff, but we don't really like talk that often. So, but I can reach out to her. You reach out to her, and then we can handle it. Yeah. Let's do it.
That'd be fun. That's it's weird, but that's like one of the going from doing music all the time, like me personally, and then like now doing other stuff that's cool. But I'm like, there's every now and then where I'm like, dang, I really do miss like performing or just like writing stuff? Like, do
Right.
you? I know like you've been prioritizing a lot, like different avenues for yourself. Like, does that ever like happen to you where you kind of miss?
Oh, bro,
your
you know,
art?
we're artists, you know what I'm saying? We're
Yeah.
musicians, man. Like, of course. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, dang, man, I haven't wrote something. Which, no, I'll say like I still get like spurts of creativity, you know what I'm saying? But not as much. And I'll perform here and there, you know what I'm saying? But then it starts, I guess you start making those excuses like, man, I'm going to just do it when it's a big crowd. So like I'll do that sometimes. Like I'm in Los Angeles or such and such is here. Yeah, I'm performing here. You know what I'm saying? Or it's a new market. I got to perform, you know what I'm saying? But then you start prioritizing other things, but definitely, yeah. Always got that music bug, you know, that monkey on my back, you know what I'm saying? Like grabbing me and gripping me. And I know it'll be there, like, you know what I'm saying? I think Tyra and I were talking about that the other day. He was like, yeah, I know you still got something in you, you know what I'm saying? Because like one thing like my football players will say, or like Tyron will say is like, and I think you know it too if you know me, like I'm always like even when I was growing up, like I'm always like singing and stuff, or I'm always like using references to music anytime I talk and stuff like that. That's damn near like my, what do you call that? My tick. You know what I'm saying? If you say anything remotely related to a song, I might start singing it. So no, with the music, and then like I do it and I still get, and what's cool, like what's always reaffirming is when I'm out in public still, people are like know who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always cool. Like people coming up and saying, "Hey, are you Dizzi Davis?" And oh man, I like this one, or I saw you there, or bro, I've been knowing you since woo 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 woo, or like oh we used to listen to you in my like high school game, and I saw you perform at X place. You know what I'm saying? Woo 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 woo. So you know I know it's still there, and then like I watch the analytics of the songs and people do it, and you know young people, like I'm talking like people who like 10, 11, 12, they'll like catch on to it. So it's that's always a motivator. But yeah, definitely. Gotta prioritize it. You know what I'm saying? Gotta prioritize it for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing that I see now, because like I definitely still get the inkling like for it, and I'm just like, oh, it'd be really cool. But then I also do look at like what I'm doing, and I'm like, well, that's also like really cool. Like, you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh damn, like it's not like before. Like before, when I initially took the first break off of music was when we had the band in high school, and then we broke up. Or I think I left, and then we broke up. I went maybe like 5 years without doing anything creative, like music or anything like that. And then just working a job, and those were like the dark times. You know what I mean? Like those are like when we were talking about like that. I was like, yeah, those are definitely like those moments. And then it wasn't until we started like I think Richard brought me around to like Arsenal Failure, which was DJ and like Richard's band and stuff. Brought me around to like a practice, and then they were writing like some sort of song, and like Richard's showing me like what they're writing, and I'm like, oh, like this is really cool. And immediately I'm like thinking of ideas of how to like write this song or whatever. And it's not even my song. It's not in my band or whatever. Yeah. I'm just like, listen, I'm like, oh, like this is really cool. And then like I start messing around like, oh, what if we like brought the band back, blah, blah, blah. And then doing that again, I'm like, oh, like I really, really like enjoyed this. Like even like when, I guess when we broke up, the only thing that I which is why I would like to do something creative again is because I finally understood like how much, how more important it is for you to like what you're putting out than just like trying to write something. Towards the end, I stopped like a lot of the and it's probably has to do with the fact that like Under Bloom put out stuff like really late. So like the EP was the newest song was like 3 years old, like when we released it. And then same thing with like those singles that we put out, they were like 2 years old, you know what I mean? So we were never striking when the iron was hot. So we were never playing stuff when like, oh, we really like what we're playing right now. So that caught up to me, and I'm like, man, I don't even like what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So that kind of got that idea. And I feel like if I did something now, it would solely be about doing something because you enjoy doing it, and writing stuff that you want to write. And then because of the access that we have now to be able to write something, and if I want to put it out next month, I can put it out next month. You know what I mean? Like, and then also like being around shows so much that you're like, damn, like, you know, like other people are doing really cool stuff. Like why, you know, it would be nice to have that community that I feel like we have now, and we get to take a part of, like curating. and being able to participate in it.
Hey,
like, as
don't
a
feel
musician.
guilty. Utilize it, man. Utilize it.
Yeah.
So there's a part of a lot of people who I feel like shout out to Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? One of the most important pillars in DFW. You know what I'm saying? In Dallas. You know, one of the most owner of Creators Don't Die. Just dropped a song with like Fabo from D4L. You know, Laffy Taffy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like shout out to Michael Jackson as my dog. We was in Ohio together and we were there, what was that, 4 days ago? And so I told him, man, because he makes music as well, but I feel like it's the same deal. I'm like, bro, you running a venue, you know what I'm saying? Your personality. He's always like on like those like cheaters, and he's always on like what those little Judge Judy things or what, you know what I'm talking about?
What?
Yeah, he's like always on them. Like if you go to his Instagram, shout out to Mecca. I think it's Don't Follow Mecca. Shout out to my dog. But so you know,
right, because they're all like staged, right? Are you talking about like the cases?
Yeah, like whatever.
I've never seen like the whatever the plaintiffs or whatever. They're like, yeah, we just made up a story and you get to be on the show.
I was watching the show. I was like, this boy ain't got no baby. Like, you know, I know him for like 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that sorry, quick interruption, but like, yeah, that curtain coming down or like nothing is real. Like I was like, hear me thinking, I'm like, they did what? Like that's crazy. How they getting away with
Jerry
this?
Springer, come on, man. Hey, R.I.P. Jerry Springer, man. But
when
on,
Judge Jerry came out, because he was a judge, he had a judge show for a second. I'm like, all right, it's all bullshit.
It's just what they call it's trash TV. Like what they call it, like trash TV, man, just to entertain you. But so with him, you know what I'm saying? I was in Ohio because he wanted to go on a run, and I just felt like that's where you said community is important. I think he just felt like maybe he didn't want to be. I mean, he's a confident dude, of course, but he's a person. So I felt like he felt like, man, maybe if people don't respond to it, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll knock down the respect to the clout that I have now in these other departments. So I was like, 10 months, like, no, dog, perform. I was like, the crowd ready for it, you know what I'm saying? And he killed it. And then I was like, look, we got this run coming up. We have a good relationship. Anything that I've got going on, any show, anywhere you tell me, you on it. You know what I'm saying? I'll pay you to DJ and then you perform. You know what I'm saying? And I think like, and I told him, I was like, you got the following, bro. You need to be consistent with that part of yourself. Like he does skits and stuff too. If you have a chance, check him out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even have him up here. But he does a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? He gets a good response. His engagement is crazy. It's always, 1,000-something comments, always, and legitimate. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I think he's really reserved and being consistent with showing that part of himself, which he's starting to open up. But once you do that, anyways, I say that to say, utilize it. I think some people might say, oh, it'll look cheesy if I do it. People now know me as the owner of Noise Rod and Chill Sounds and Breakdowns, and they'll think that I'm just clout chasing or whatever. But, haters are gonna hate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
I don't think I have that much worry at all. Just honestly, it's because if I decided to do something, like it would just be fun. Like I would be so into making stuff that I like that I don't think it would matter as much if people
hate it. Why do you mean maximize it? Because sometimes it can look like it's like bad taste. You know what I'm saying? Like for example,
oh, you think so?
When I for example, when I've performed in front of a big crowd, guess who goes right before the headliner? That's right. I know. You worked hard with the promo and, other openers, you did this, or co-headliner, you did this. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in this situation, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to use it to my advantage. In the words of Sir Gucci Mane LaFleur, you know what I'm saying? He said, these haters, they going to hate on you like anyway, so I'm going to throw some rims on my shit anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just a way of saying I'm gonna do it the biggest because hey, people are gonna be mad no matter what, and it's not distasteful to do it. To look after your own interests as an artist.
I mean, especially if you built it. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't I use?
Well, which this is a pivot to something else. The scene can be real anti-establishment. He don't care about the music or the art. He just want the money, bro. Look at what he's doing. He's exploiting it. It's not cool, man. You know?
It's very, very true. But like, I mean, you can't worry about like so many things. It's just so hard. Like, if you try to please everybody, that's crazy. I mean, people say it all the time, but it's so true. The more you like live in it, the more you're like, yeah, why? That's another one of those things that just comes with like experience, age, and wisdom, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right.
It's like, it's too much energy to spend on like thinking like, what are they thinking about me? Like I realized like how much like, just time I was spending on like, oh, what do they think of me? Like, are they thinking? And somebody said like, oh God, I can't remember, but I love it. It's like, you'll stop worrying so much about what other people think about you when you realize how seldomly they do.
Exactly. I know that exact quote.
And I'm just
it's
like,
real.
oh, that's exactly right. Because I think about then the only way I can reflect on it is like thinking about me. Like, how much do I actually think about all these other? Even if I immediately, like, let's say, think of something judgmental about somebody, it's if they're not like in my inner circle, whatever, people that I care about, like, it's gone so fleetingly. It's so gone. I'm like, oh, like, you know, I am that in a majority of people's lives, you know what I mean? But like,
and then another way
to
relate is the times that maybe you have like really sad and like straight up being a hater is the only word. It's like you were in a dark place, you know what I'm saying? So it had more to do with you than it had to do with, you know, Jamie, John, and whoever. So yeah. No, exactly.
It's a big realization that I had was a lot of the stuff that like made me mad, pissed me off, upset me the most was shit in myself that I would see in other people.
For sure.
And I'm like, oh, they're doing that. But I'm like, that's the part of me that I don't like. And he's like, and you're doing it. So you're bad because I know that I'm bad. You know what I mean? Like, but until like I realized that, I'm like, oh, you know what? Why am I going to say shit about them? Like, I haven't tried to do anything for it myself.
One finger pointing at somebody else, you got three pointing back at you.
Yeah, they all
clean up your own house first. And it's the opposite too. It could be, man, such and such is doing this, bro. You know, that should be me. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, maybe it doesn't manifest itself like that, but you see somebody doing something that you should be doing and you slick hate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess, bro, that's what he doing is, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But that's only when you're in a dark place. Cause like I tell people all the time whenever they pick whatever political topic or whatever group people want to talk about they don't like, and I be like, man, like I got too much other stuff to think about to be worried about that. And keep it real, my life is kind of lit. You know what I'm saying? My life, that's cool. Like, and then when you're doing well, you really genuinely happy for other people. You know what I'm saying? Even if they're doing what you want to do bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a cool house. Such and such might have a mansion, but I got so much going on. That's cool for them. Shout out. You got that? Okay, bet. Keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy, legit happy for you. You know, when you're doing well, it's hard to be a hater. When you're being productive in your own right, it's hard to be a hater.
Yeah, that and like it's very hard, and it's one thing that I keep saying one thing. There's so many things, but things that I've just noticed were like before. If I would see somebody doing something similar to what I was doing, I would hate on and be like, oh, look at them like doing, you know, what I was doing here, this and that. But that was just like a manifestation of my like insecurity of like, oh shit, like they're creeping up on me, something I thought I had, like whatever. And now it's more like, one, like I'm happy that they're doing it. Like, and two, it's like I shouldn't be scared, or if I am scared, it's like then get better. Like, you know what? Who other than me? Like, there's no one else that like wishing them to do bad instead of just wishing that I do better, like or get better. Like it's way more probable that I can get myself to be better than I can get them to fail. And then just being able to, having the thought of like somebody else doing bad just makes me feel even worse. And I'm like, why even like think like that? You know what I mean?
And like we just talked about AI, you will always have a uniqueness to you that will attract certain things and will keep you in your own lane. Okay, like I'll use this, right? So we're both from the United States. So we're from the home of capitalism, right? The home of competition, you know what I'm saying, to a certain extent. And I'll use our neighborhood as an example. I remember I used to think when I was younger, I used to be like, man, there's like 15 Mexican restaurants on the same damn street. You know what I'm saying? And and 5 of them been open for 10 plus years. And the venue only varies so much. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's but whatever it is that they have, certain people go here and keep this business afloat. Right. Some people make this one successful. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they don't like each other, but they don't, the point I'm trying to make is, there's enough for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And when you're bringing something to the table and it's got your own twist on it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if pick the podcaster that's catching up to you or that's where you want to be. As long as you keep doing what you're supposed to do, that consistency, that compounding interest, that dedication, you know what I'm saying, that self-awareness, that reflection, that making the adjustments that need to be made, you'll do well. It's just what it is.
Yeah. I had Alex, who's a photographer on here, but she said community over competition. And I'm like, yeah, I would much rather have people as my peers than like as someone that I am only seeing as someone that I need to beat at something. Now, if the thing about community though is that you also, with having like-minded people, is that yeah, you will have people around you that will push you to get better. Like because if they're getting better and you feel like you're getting left behind, the only way to catch up is to start learning, start doing newer stuff, like challenging yourself. And the right people around you, having that around you need that. Like you need that push. And if you surround yourself with people that are only like doing not the bare minimum, but like letting you get away with like, yeah, you're good. Like that's why like hearing just the fact that you're good all the time isn't like necessarily the best, like always. Right. Like you need to have people that don't necessarily tell you that you're bad, but like if people that you need to be comfortable with taking criticism from, and also like being able to submit to them, be like, hey, what do you think of this? And if you ask for an opinion, you need to be ready for like the honest truth, like that they're going to tell you like, oh, work on this, work on that. But most of the time it doesn't, for me at least, it doesn't take that. It just takes being around people that I'm like, oh crap, they're doing that. That's really cool. Like, how do I do that? How do I do this? And like it's funny because with photography, I honestly thought I was running into, I was like, there's going to be a lot of gatekeeping here. Like, I know, I don't know why. Like, maybe it's because like back when I had a band, it felt like there was a lot of gatekeeping. Okay. And I've realized like in music, it hasn't. I really haven't run into it now with like noise ride and stuff like that. Like because we try to not do that as much.
What's not do that as much?
Not as much. Sorry. Oh, there is no feeling of like, if you get this show, it means like I don't get this show. You know what I mean? Like, which I felt like when we were in a band, we ran into that a lot, of people thinking that way. Now it's more like, if you get on this show, it's like, fuck yeah, that's amazing for you. Like if you get on this one, blah, 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 or, whatever opportunities you get, like most encounters that I have, people are like happy for other people. Like it feels that way. But I didn't know what I was expecting in photography. I have friends in photography, but I'm like, well, how are they going to be like, if I have a question or if I have this, you know what I mean? So I was learning and stuff like that, but I've had like great, like I think in the first, like, I've only taken it up for like a month and a half, but like I asked, like, there's my friend Brent who does DeLandria photo. And I asked, like, I was like, you do these really cool shots. Like, I've been trying to learn how to do that and I can't do it. He's like, oh, it's like this. And he showed me like immediately. I'm like, cool. Enough for me to get the gist. And then I have to learn the rest kind of thing. Exactly. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. I think somebody else like took me on one of their like photo gigs, like, oh, I'll give you this much if you come help me do like something. And it was like something minuscule, but right, I'm like,
you just kind of shadowed them.
I was like, yeah, sure. I'm like, I'm happy with just like being around you, like, cause I love the work that you do. So like seeing you work like, and is a lot of like payment. That's when we look at like taking experience away, like from stuff. Mm-hmm. Or like, even if I didn't get paid, like if I learned something here, like, that's cool. But like even that, but I've had a lot of people like be very open to that. Like I ran into another photographer who was like out of town, and I was thinking it was one of our shows and it was like a house show, but he was with the touring band. And I was like, all right. So I was like staying out of his way, and then I was like, hey, like I just want to make sure that I'm out of your way. He's like, no, it's cool. And then he immediately like follows like my Instagram on it. He's like, oh yeah, this and that. Like right away, like very friendly. And I'm like, oh, that's maybe the community that I see in music now is in other spots too. And I maybe just am not part of those, but entering those, it seems very welcoming, I guess.
Well, I think a lot of that is a testament to like the face card you've built up, you know what I'm saying, over the years. Because, being a genuine person, doing good business, you know what I'm saying, doing right by people. I think that's because there's definitely, like you say, maybe you experienced this as a band, which we talked about earlier. You were a different person then, and things.
You said I was meaner.
Yeah, you were meaner. You know what I'm saying? You was fresh out the hood, bro. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was fresh out the hood, bro. You're a different person when you fresh out the hood. You know what I'm saying? You growing up. So, but I say like this, but this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about being in our own lane, not staying in our own lane, but just trailblazing our own paths. Because I think there's definitely, like, in what we do, there's, what, did it die?
Not yet. No, you're good. Oh. It's about to.
It's about to? For sure. We've been going for a little bit.
Yeah.
But, when you're trailblazing your own path, when you're knocking it down and going your own way, and I like competition. I'm a competitive person, so I wouldn't say it's community over competition. I say I have my community, and And there's competition I have, but I'm not in competition with them. You know what I'm saying? So and then in our community, I say people definitely try to gatekeep. You know what I'm saying? But it won't work. So like the personality that I had, like so Tyron's like hyper competitive. You know what I'm saying? He's like hyper competitive. He's really all about, forget everybody else. This is what I want to do. It's about us. Da, 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 da. And
you want to wrap up? Or you want to keep talking?
Huh? It's about to like da.
Yeah, but I got spare battery. So
it's up to you, nigga. I mean, shit. You tell me. I don't even know how long we've been talking or nothing.
Huh?
I don't know how long we've been talking.
We've been talking for a while.
For real.
We can keep going if you want.
Shit, nigga, we can wrap up or we can keep going. You call it. It's your show, nigga. I'm at your house.
All right, we'll keep going. Let me just put some more, just in case we say something.
Say no more. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Say no more. But all I'm saying is, like, community's cool and competition's cool. There is competition 100%. But when you're trailblazing your own path, it's cool. And then I don't always want to make community with everybody. Like, and I have tried. I won't say the names, but you know who I'm talking about. And they're big names out here. You know what I'm saying? I know you know who they are. Big names out here as far as doing what we do. And man, one thing about me is, and a lot of people don't know it until it happens. I'm real confrontational. You know what I'm saying? I'm real confrontational. I don't like to feel played. I smile, but then I smile. I kind of have a high voice. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm around, if I like you, I dap you up and stuff. But usually, especially when it comes to like anything with Aerolife shows, Aeronotiqz, usually if you're talking to me, something went wrong. Or we're doing some negotiations, right? Like I'm like a hostage negotiator. You know what I'm saying? Like something's wrong, and I'm not liking it, and we're gonna come to a solution. And it is what it is. And I can also be difficult to get along with. You know what I'm saying? I can be real difficult to get along with. So I don't want to make community with everybody. And then some people do things differently. Like in the scene, some people, like, and I'm sure you know this, like if you're talking about community, so they'll be talking about community, the scene, don't want to make money. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. We're just diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I feel like, what am I trying to say? Or to me, if someone truly cares about the scene, okay, it's just like a child. Okay, yes, a child needs love. Yes, a child needs to be nurtured. Money is also required to do that, right? Something to bargain with. Doesn't have to be monetary, but something to bargain with is required. Usually that's going to be money, right? So when people say, oh, it's not about the money, that means you're not in the scene for the long haul. You're in here for a couple years, and then you're going to go off and branch into something else or just kind of be a passive participant. But those of us who are planning to be active and been active for, a decade, you know what I'm saying? We know money's required.
Yeah.
So we can't do things. We can't do it together. Or, which I won't say names, but big company, you want to go and, maybe your pockets are deeper than mine, so you're willing to overpay and acquiesce so much with an artist. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. Or you don't want to ask certain things. I don't want to do that. We're not. No. I don't want a community that way. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a community that way. I don't want to do that. We can be competition. It's not like we're in competition, but to me, it's like we're in different divisions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're doing the same sport. You know what I mean? We might be the same weight class, but we're in different divisions. So what you got going in like the Eastern Conference has nothing to do with what I got going on over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I say all the time, like you said earlier, does it feel like somebody got this show? Like when somebody gets a show that like maybe I was shooting for, I don't care. Even when I'm like, oh man, that was a successful show. You know what I'm saying? Like shout out Smooth Vega. There's been a couple times like, dang, I really wanted it. Smooth Vega ended up getting it. You know what I'm saying? Or Renaissance from Mortal Soldiers, he ended up getting it, and it goes well. But I don't trip because it's like, well, somebody books Beyonce every year, and I have nothing to do with that. So just like I don't feel like I missed out on that. I don't feel like I missed out on what you got. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. It's really taking the time to again just worry about your own like business and okay. So I definitely do agree in the point of like not making community with everybody. When I guess when I think competition, I really think of like malicious competition where you're trying to mess with like whoever you're trying to like compete with. Because obviously, like if you're in a business or in a market, like you're going to have other people doing the same thing in that market, and at some point you will compete over, overlapping, let's say shows, tours, like it's happened so many times. Again, so you are dealing with some sort of competition, and again, that's just the name of the game. Doesn't matter what you do, like you're always going to have that. The biggest thing that always like rubs me the wrong way is people getting very upset that like you're doing and coming up on their territory. And it comes back to that, like when I used to feel like that way, for me, it was a manifestation of insecurity because I'm like, oh, well, someone's coming after something that I have. Like, this is mine. You know what I mean? Like, why are they trying to take from me? You know what I mean? When going back to it, there's plenty for everybody. Like, you know, I just like, we ran into cases, you know, with like, with shows and stuff like that, where we hear these, you know, other, let's go with bigger companies, and just hearing the things that they're doing or saying, and it's like, that's weird. Like, why, you know, why aim like at somebody like for this? You know what I mean? When there's plenty, you know, at least from my perspective, there's plenty. And I understand like the competition of it, where like sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes we're gonna win, sometimes somebody else is gonna take something, you know. But like being very direct and upset, I guess, with like comments is very interesting, especially like, you know, you started somewhere, like we started somewhere. There's so many like people booking stuff now, like that are coming up like brand new. I just saw a new one like 2 weeks ago that like
is doing a new one every day,
and I'm like, cool. I go, that means more people are trying to do it. You know what I mean? It's just they do it their way that they can, or why they formed it. They have their own reasons, just like we have our own reasons why we started what we like do. You know what I mean?
Well, and you make the adjustments. You know what I'm saying? You make the adjustments. That's what you do. Like pick whatever company, right? So they might get some exclusivity with a venue, right? And this venue's like, hey, well, right now we only offer Saturdays to these people. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I dig that. Obviously, I need Saturdays, right? I need Saturdays. But that company might have been around or started with, either they've been around longer or they started with more than we started with. It's cool. But in the meantime, what I'm putting in now, eventually, right, if I do everything, or if that's my goal, maybe not if I do everything right, but if that's my goal, then that'll be me. At one time, right? So, because I'm starting off with a venue who just opened. So, if I've been doing consistent business with them for 5 years, they're going to give me certain preference as well. Yeah. You know, that we just doing business.
And you have that. You know, you have that now. You have certain like venues that'll like be able to come, like you'll be able to come to them, you know, with anything. They're like, we got you. You know what I mean?
Got you.
Like,
we have no deposit, none is running. Exactly.
Because you have like created that relationship. But you, again, it goes back to that word. You got to earn like all these things.
You
like,
got to earn. Bingo. So there's no reason to be upset at, you know, whoever's more established in doing that and you think it's against the scene, because that means you got to adjust. You got to go look for the nooks and crannies. You got to see what works for you. That's it. Point blank, period. You know what I mean? And shout out to all the new people, especially like us, because we expand. That's like our big thing. So we're always in new markets. Yeah. You know, always. And then one thing about us, you know what I'm saying? And I'll say it on here. I don't check in. I don't let anybody gatekeep. And they're there. You know what I'm saying? There's people who pop up and I'm such and such around here. And it's like, man, I'm in your, and then I'm also like, safety's like a big one for us, right? So safety's like a big one. So I don't play around. I don't politic, because it's like, I come to yours and I might not know that you might not like you and this company are really in competition. You know what I'm saying? So I keep it real business. No, I don't want to go to the strip club with you afterwards. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't want to pull up no drink. I don't want to smoke with you. I don't want to drink and all that kind of stuff. We keep it straight business. And I feel like when you keep it straight business and when you keep it formal, it helps keep the gatekeepers away from you. Now, some people do get mad. There's some people like, who these guys think they are coming to... I don't want to say the exact city, so let's just say, who these guys think they are coming to Albuquerque, New Mexico, bro? They didn't come in with us. We've been building this scene for years. They're coming off our hard work. You know, and I feel like, present me something. I'm down to collaborate to a certain extent, you know, as long as it makes sense, as long as we're being direct. Like I said, don't hit me about not making any money. Don't do it. I'm not interested. Or give me another metric of success. So, hey, look, this might break even, or it might be a good investment because of it'll yield this.
Make
and that.
It worth your, you know,
make
time.
It worth my time. Yeah, I'm grown, baby. You know what I'm saying? Them 30s around the corner. You know what I'm saying? Them 30s, they creeping up on me. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not just throwing money at a fire. I'm not doing it. I'm not throwing. I respect myself. I respect my company. I respect my past self for all the work that I've put in. You know, all the sacrifices. You know how that goes. Don't disrespect me with something that's. And it's not even, if you present it and I say, hey, I'm not with it, that doesn't mean I think it's dumb. Yeah. That doesn't mean I think it's silly. It's just not, compatible with what I'm trying to do at the time.
Yeah. No, I think you run into that a lot. Like there's a lot of like ideas that get thrown out, you know, at you all the time. Like we've had a few that we turned down, not because we don't want you to do it, but because, hey, like this just ain't for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this just doesn't work with what we're, you know, trying to do, or in whatever aspect it is, like there's so many different ways, like why. Okay, just because we don't want to do an idea with you doesn't mean that we don't think you should not do the idea. Like, go do the idea. We just can't be part of it, like this one, And it is interesting, like, to see that, because I've had like some people ask for help in certain things, and if I can, I can do it. But then I also know, like, time wise, like, what can I actually like give out, not for free, but like, okay, like, if I'm giving this time, like, what am I getting back here? Like, not necessarily like a payment, but like, are we helping each other? Are we creating a relationship? Do I have this free time to, because nowadays I don't like have that free time to just like, hey, like, you need time to let me help you do this. Like, I don't have as many spaces like to just give away time. Like, time is the biggest like thing where I'm like, something's getting done like every day. Like, something's, so if I'm dedicating time to do this, like, for you, because like, let's just take, I mean, I don't know why I'm talking to you about being busy, but like, this week, we have, tomorrow, like, I have a show I'm going to, and I'm like, it's a touring musician that I get to do like an interview with during the show. So cool. That's my Wednesday, and then I work. And then I think Friday we're doing an event, and then Saturday, Sunday we're doing like Plus Fest again for shows. And I'm like, cool, that's 4 days out of the week. What are the other like 3 days? Like, those aren't free days. Like, those are all like, the stuff got to get edited, like things got to be made, like all these things. So depending on like who you're working with, like, yeah, they're gonna have things that they can't work with, and then just stuff that doesn't align, that maybe I just don't like it. I mean? And that's okay. I mean? Like, to not have views align in like how shows should be run, or whatever you're trying to do, and we can't work it out. Like, that's cool. But yeah, I think just the hindrance is like the thing that does bother me. But I think I see it a lot less. Like, for them, at least in my experience, again, it might be because we steer away from like those communities, or like people who like are malicious, I guess, with their intents. But yeah, I think we've gotten pretty lucky and have like earned a spot like in the community where we feel like we are
embraced.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like I said, your face card is good, and also what comes with that is like, man, understanding people got other things going on too. Like, I'll use y'all as an example. Y'all are a great example. I have been trying to do something with y'all for. Now I will say, I did tell DJ the day DJ told me. Yeah, like, I found when I figured out y'all were serious about starting Noise Right. I don't know if you were there, but I told DJ, I was like, well, see you in 3 years, nigga. You know what I'm saying? That's what I said. And I was like, I didn't see him for like 2.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or like a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see him for a while because I know what this entails. You know what I'm saying? And so we presented, because I'm sure you remember how it goes, the timeline. It was like, all right, DJ is working with Aerolife shows, so we're just, but Noise Right isn't a thing yet. So it's really just like us and DJ. Really just me and DJ, you know what I'm saying? And we did like over a dozen shows together, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was working right. And then from there, I think that's when he realized, like, all right, I can put my spin on this, right? And it's like, I created competition, but right, you're always, because he's doing something different, he's gonna do it a different way. And then ever since, every once in a while when we talk on the phone, I'll be like, hey, bro, let's go ahead and mesh something together. But it either hasn't been aligned, either it wasn't on our priority or our list of priorities, or it didn't align with what y'all had going on, I had going on. But it's not like, it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, we're just competition. We don't want to work with each other. You know what I'm saying? When like, all right, well, I'm doing this, he's doing that. When you're busy doing your own thing, like we said earlier, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, imagine if Aerolife Shows was an unproductive company and things were just going wrong. And I'm like, man, how DJ gonna tell me? You know what I'm saying? How OC gonna say, man, I don't want to do nothing with you, bro. I'm not doing that right now. You know what I'm saying? You're in a darker place. You feel like a hater. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, this and that. So that's why always being productive in your own right is, I think, so important. The world looks, the lenses that you wear are so much more positive.
Yeah. It's easier to see, like, not necessarily good in other people, but to be happy for like other people like doing stuff, and just be like, oh cool, they're doing their thing, because so am I. You know what I mean? It's way easier if you have something to be appreciative, like, and be, again, and just be proud and be happy of other people doing their own thing too. You're like, cool, they're doing their thing. Maybe we'll align here and there, like, you know, but if not, it's cool. Because again, I have something, you know, it's just, you know, and that goes not just like with business, with like, just like, you realize like the friends that you don't have anymore, or like, you know, people in your lives or relationships where like one person doesn't have like a thing to do and then one person does, like that ends up like really like not aligning. Yeah. You just drift apart so bad. Yep. Like that definitely like has happened with like friendships, and you know, it's very interesting. I mean, I saw it in like a relationship and just being like, oh wow, it really does make a difference. That's why, like, and we were actually talking about this. We had a Noise Rock podcast, so I had like DJ and Bernie on here, and we were talking. But I'm like, I was like, yeah, like one thing I knew it would make a difference, but I didn't know how much was having like, you know, a partner or like my fiance who like actually is not only like supportive in like a cool, like good job, like do something, but like is actually like understanding like what I'm doing and being like, okay, I know what this takes. So like, again, I'm very busy like with a lot of different things, but she's also got like a whole like life too to do. Like there's also goals, there's also like things that she's doing that I get to support her with, but those are hers, you know what I mean? Like so she's got her thing, I got my thing, and we both work like hard at it. So we understand like, okay, yeah, I know what that takes. Like, and then when she looks at like the effort that I put into things, like, okay, yeah, I know why that's happening, like why he's doing that. Like that's understandable. Like, you know, I know why, you know, we can't always hang out, or I know why, like, oh, you got another show today, you're working on this, or you're doing like a podcast, this and that. Cool. Like it's not like, oh, like you're doing that, like why are you doing that? Like there's no misunderstanding about like why I'm doing the things that I do. Same thing with her. Like there's no misunderstanding why you're doing, you know, spending time doing the things that you need to do. Like there's that very, very like direct understanding and support, you know what I mean, at the same time.
And that exactly, not just the affirmation, which is a big component. It's a huge element, especially in any kind of interpersonal relationship, not just a sentimental one, but you know, having those, that's what I mean when I say community. Like for example, you, Bernie, DJ, everything like that. You know, your fiance. Someone who can affirm you with words is great, but also not being around the people who not just downplay. There's a better way to describe it, and I don't want to say hating again, but all right. So you know, for example, and I'm sure this is like worldwide, but I'll just use a lot of people who are like this. The ones that I know, they're like from Northside, so the way that it's said in my head sounds like how somebody would say it over there. Like, oh, like you doing a show in Brazil? Oh, you think you're cool or what? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then that comment can be funny sometimes, but other times there's more to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or like, oh, you know, you don't come around. I'd be like, no, I don't want to come and drink for the next 8 hours, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's not what I do. Or you think you're too good? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or people say things like, oh, how's your little podcast going? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay, little podcast. And, you know, sometimes that just comes out. Other times it's like, okay, no, I think you're like belittling what's going on. And then you got to analyze what that person's got going on. You know what I'm saying? So, and those words will get you, but, those words will affect you in a way, which forces you guys to drift apart. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because those words you'll catch, which is always bad, right? Because it should be the words that are reaffirming what you got going on, should affect you more. But when you catch that, especially from somebody that you feel like should be affirming you, you know what I mean? You know, you don't like it. And it shows but anytime you check, they're not happy with something that they got going on. You know what I'm saying? They're not happy with something. You know, they don't get, why are you doing that, bro? Or, oh, yeah. Or, you know, some people be directly like, oh, yeah, but I saw it only got X amount of views. You know what I mean? So, but the more you surround yourself with people, kind of like almost insulates you from that kind of hate. Because it's like the more you build a community who supports you, you don't hear that as much. But like when you first start, it seems like, oh, like I'll use, I'll use like the clothing example, right? Like, yeah, like, oh, your little clothing company, you're still doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you're a dude that sells clothes. Oh, that's interesting. You know what I'm saying? I know like Tyron's gotten it worse. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like, hey, you got priorities. You need to stop. You know, you just wait. You're chasing a pipe dream. All right. You know what I mean? Same, especially with music. I mean, I'm sure you know that. Especially with music, anybody's like, oh, you're rapping. You know what I'm saying? You know, whatever. You know, but when you got that community, it does insulate you from that. You know, a So it is important to have those people who
important to have people that get it, like they understand what it means to. It's weird to hear downplaying or talking down on someone. Let's say that they are chasing a dream, like, but talking that down sounds weird. Like, sounds weird. Why is that a bad thing? Like, what's
the motivation?
What's the alternative to, like, okay, if I'm not chasing a dream, then I'm doing what? Like, being numb and just like going through motions and doing like stuff. And it always seems, again, it's people that have like something else going on, or like their own problems or their own like unhappiness. So they're like,
misery loves company.
I'm miserable. So like, why aren't you? Like, I hate that you aren't. Or like, even if it's like not on a conscious level, that is what like happens a lot of times. So you just don't pay attention to it and keep doing your own thing, and it's fine.
And when you got your own motion, like we said earlier, okay,
yeah,
oh yeah, all right.
He's like, yeah,
one of my partners said this is a good partner. You know what I'm saying? Which I think he was just excited about. And we'll use money as a measurement here. I think he was just excited about the new, which also sometimes people don't mean anything by, but I think he had found he reached a new financial, I don't want to say plateau, but he was getting more money than he was used to getting. And he was telling me, he's like, oh man, you need to come over here and do what I'm doing, that little money that you got going on with that. And I was like, and it's okay to flex sometimes. It's like that little money, I don't want to say too much because it might distinguish who the person is. It was like, I don't know, bro. I don't know if you see do you know how much a flight to Brazil is, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been there 4 times in the last 4 months. You know what I'm saying? My life's lit. I've been to New York 3 times in the last month. You know what I'm saying? I've been to Los Angeles. Some people go to Los Angeles like once in their life. I've been like 30 times. You know what I'm saying? If not more. Almost all related to business. You know what I'm saying? So, you gotta. Sometimes you can flex on them, and sometimes, just
it's like, why?
Just like
do I need to?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it feels good, right? Because sometimes you also need to pat. It doesn't have to always come out as flexing on somebody else, but sometimes you do need to pat your own self on the back. You know, you need to say, "Hey, man, this is what I'm doing." You know what I'm saying? Let's look at these metrics of success, because I know when I'm in private, those are the things that I look at. You know what I'm saying? Those are, all right, you know what? Let me see exactly let me try to be as objective as possible, and let me see how I'm doing compared to my peers or compared to where I was, whatever I want to compare it to. But I have to do an analysis. Everything isn't just feelings and, okay, well, it's nice. I mean, sure, that's important. That has its value. But let's be critical for a second. And, where that's how you can know where you can improve, and having those conversations with yourself. I think those are important because, DJ said this one time and it always stuck with me. He was like, I want somebody to tell me they're proud of me and it means something. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, it's the worst when you haven't been elevating, and then somebody's still saying, well, hey, OC, you're still doing great. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's not all that matters. Yeah. But you're like, nah, I've been messing up. You know what I'm saying? I've been slacking. Like, I know it, and I feel like you know it. And then now I don't even know when you tell me good job if it means anything, or you're pitying me right now, which that even shows if you have to pity me, I've definitely been slacking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think being critical of yourself is important too, having some kind of metric to measure yourself up against. Yeah. Yeah, like it helps motivate. That self-motivation is going to come from you analyzing, like, well, did I get better? How can I get better? Yeah. But yeah, you have to be able to pay attention to it, because otherwise, like, again, if you're living off of good jobs from people, knowing damn well you haven't done shit, it feels worse. Like, you're right. Like, yeah, saying someone be like, oh, damn, that, good job. I'm like, for what? Like, for, especially that's what I mean. Like, going back to like the minimal effort stuff that I used to get lucky on, and people being like, I used to like thrive on it. I used to thrive on people be like, let's say school would be like, oh, you got to really, like, because I used to get good grades all the time, but I didn't try. And I was like, this I didn't even try, And now if I don't try on something and somebody compliments it, I'm like, that doesn't deserve a compliment because I didn't try on this. Exactly. You know what I mean? So like, if I try really hard and like, I get one person to say something like good about it, I'm like, hell yeah, like, I'm happy about that because that there is a merit behind that. Like, I deserve this one. You know what I mean? Which again, I've heard different things that years ago, like, fed into like the wrong thing, because I think I was talking to a friend. This is like with a past relationship or something, and I was like, oh, I haven't, like,
I don't know why this person like loves me. Like I haven't earned that love or this and that. And she's like, yeah, you don't get to dictate when people love you. And I'm like, all right. So that was like I was like, that was a different thing. I was like, sure. But on this specific thing, like when you talk about like working on stuff, I'm like, no, like I need to earn it. Even then to a degree, like you also have to be like putting in the right amount of work or whatever, to feel entitled, to be like grateful for someone noticing and being like, good job. Like you're doing like cool shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I take you and be like, dude, you've been doing amazing things. Like it's because you have, like, you know what I mean? Like you can analyze yourself and be like, yeah, I've been doing dope shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's really, it's easier to take that compliment in. But even, I don't know if you're like me, but even to a degree, even when I know I'm doing well and I get a compliment, I take it, but I'm still like, I can still get better. Like I'm still going to get better. Like that's always in the back of my head. And I have a hard time like not vocalizing it a lot of times. Like, nah, like I did this, and I've always done it. Like when I was in a band and someone came up to me like, you played awesome, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, we messed up here, here, and here. But then I'm like, now I'm just like, okay, I can keep that for myself. Like I can take the compliment I will take those and I will fix those or I will work on those and get back.
And then like-minded individuals, like when you're ambitious, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who gets it will get it. You know what I'm saying? You got to know the right arena that you're going to speak in. Mm-hmm. You know, when somebody gets it, they get it. When they know, like, man, I can, because kind of like, it's like, oh, if you think this is something, wait till I show you what's next. That's
most of the attitude. Yeah.
Wait till I show you what's next. You don't even know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This isn't even my final form. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like straight like that, Yeah, man. Always wanting to elevate. Always wanting to elevate. That's, like you said, I think you said it off camera, I think so, or maybe it was at the beginning of the conversation, like
been so long.
I know, right? And we're about to wrap up. But what's it called? Like being potential. You know what I'm saying? Like having potential. Like same here. I was always decent at I was decent with grades, like not trying. You know what I'm saying? And always in-house and always in ISS. And you kind of thrived off that, right? Same thing like undergrad. You know what I'm saying? Okay, boom. I'm an undergrad. I can work a job. I'm starting a business. I'm doing music. I'm selling CDs. And I'm still showing up and I'm still doing, I'm doing well on my tests. I'm getting A's and B's and stuff, especially like in things that I was more familiar with. But like you said, after a while, it's like, all right, how long can I just flow? Maybe I was dealt a better deck of cards than some people, but then you start to notice the difference between the people who are just like you, or the people who are right under you, or the people who are right above you. And the only difference between you and those three people is they have some work ethic. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen it, and I see it with like athletes and stuff. Boom, boom. Just all right. Such and such was born with a better deck of cards genetically, right? He's stronger, he's taller, whatever. But man, little man is about to outwork him, and the gap gets harder because compound interest, right? The gap just gets harder to bridge, man. So yeah. But now, shout out to my boy OC, man. Shout out to Noise Ride. Shout out to Chill Sounds and Breakdowns. We said it October 16th, so expect a video from us. Yeah.
OnlyFans.
That's right. But not only available on OnlyFans.
No, available on all of them except Pornhub. They're
oh man,
they're banned. Damn. R.I.P.
Get a VPN.
And Dizzy, thank you for coming by. I appreciate
you for having me, man.
You stopping by. I know again you were super busy, and it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. Like I know I talk to DJ all the time about like where you're at. Depending on like where I see like you at or you doing something, like we always talk about it. Like it's literally you're someone I know is always working, and every time like you're definitely one of those that every time I picture myself as like someone's working hard or a hard worker, like it's you, and like in pursuant of like what you want. Like you're able to visualize what you want and like figuring out how to get there. Like and it's one of the characteristics in like people that I've thoroughly respected like a lot more in like my my later years. As I've gotten older, it's definitely one of the biggest things that I respect is like people who talk about it and go and actually do it and figure it out. It's like, how do you figure it out? By doing it. You know what I mean? Like
ditto.
Yeah. So it definitely one of those people that it does inspire me, pushes me to move forward. Even from afar. Again, like we talk every now and then, and it's still just as like inspiring and like invigorating and pushing me like, oh, let's go out there and get it. Like you are definitely one of those motivators for me. Yeah, man, I appreciate you stopping by. This has been episode 117. Look out for OnlyFans out before October 16th.
Yes, sir.
Music video, everything. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time.
Sounds and break should run away together while we still can.